love vegetables so much, especially when they come from my grandma's garden. Potatoes, carrots, cucumbers, you name it, I love it. Except for one vegetable that my entire family loves and decides to put in every single thing they make, even though they know that I hate it. What vegetable are you talking about, you might ask? And no, it's not Brussels sprouts. I'm talking about the horrid onion. Now, onions can be okay if they're in hamburger, but if they're raw or in anything else, no thank you. I will go make myself a sandwich so I don't even have to look at them. When I think of onions, I think about how they make you cry and how they smell atrocious. But then I took the time to ponder, what is an onion really made up out of? And I came to the one main conclusion. It has layers. Now, this might seem like a pretty obvious idea. We all know it has layers. But what happens when you peel back the layers? When you peel back the layers of the onion, the quality of the onion gets better and better, until the bulb, or the main idea of the onion. This is like the ocean trash circle. The ocean trash circle, also known as the Pacific Trash Vortex, spans water from the west coast of North America to Japan. When you see what the ocean trash circle actually is, you're pulling back the skin of the onion. The more you understand it and what it's doing to our ecosystems, the more layers you pull back, until you reach the main conclusion of why the ocean trash circle is so bad and why people can't understand it by just glancing at it. This is why I think addressing the ocean trash circle will benefit our environment exponentially. First, we'll peel back the layers of what the ocean trash circle actually is and why it's so destructive. Then we'll examine how this affects everyone and how it's happening. And finally, we'll dive down deep and find ways you yourself can help stop the problem from getting any bigger. So, what is the ocean trash circle really? Well, it is a collection of marine debris in the North Pacific Ocean. Marine debris is litter that ends up in the oceans, seas, and large bodies of water. In total, there are 5 main islands of trash. 1 in the Indian Ocean, 2 in the Atlantic, and 2 in the Pacific. Even though they're called islands, they actually aren't. They're just huge patches of ocean that contain a high concentration of plastic debris. If you were to look at any of the islands from a bird's eye view, they actually don't seem like that big of a problem. But the problem isn't what's on the surface. It's what's underneath is the true problem. If you were to dive into the water, you would see miles and miles of trash everywhere. In coral beds, cracks of rocks, animals even eating the trash, which is one of the major problems. Another major problem is that once trash enters a circle, it's very unlikely for it to ever leave. According to the National Geographic in 2020, 67% of trash that enters a circle will stay in rotation for at least 3 years. The reason this happens is because the currents are so strong around these islands that the trash either gets stuck or it keeps rotating till it finally does get stuck. Since the ocean trash circle is in the middle of international waters, no country will take responsibility for it and clean it up. So it just keeps piling up more and more. Currently, there are 3.6 trillion pieces of plastic in only one of our patches. Now, these patches aren't just bad for the ecosystem, but they take up a ton of space. They're the size of the USA's second largest state times 2. So I can only imagine what this is doing to our environment. Now, another major issue is that animals go to piles of trash looking for food. If they do find food, plastic particles get eaten along with it, which is not ideal. When animals eat plastic particles, not only does it not dissolve in their stomachs, but it destroys their intestines. And then a bigger animal comes along and eats that smaller animal. And the plastic particles keep getting passed on and on from animal to animal over and over again. In the ocean, there are a lot of endangered species. The National Museum of Natural History states there are 2,270 species listed as endangered. and of those, 150 of them live in our oceans. So if all of these animals are dying due to plastic particles, a lot more will become endangered or even extinct if we don't change something. Now, this doesn't just affect the animals under the water, but above the water as well. It also affects humans substantially. Besides killing wildlife, which means, well, less resources for us, there's other debris damaging boats, submarine equipment, littering beaches, discouraging swimming, and harming commercial and local fisheries. The 19 islands of Hawaii, including Midway, receive massive quantities of trash. Some of this trash is decades old. Some beaches are buried under 5 to 10 feet of trash, while others are riddled with plastic sand, which is millions of grain-like pieces that are practically impossible to clean up. So not only can these places not pick up their beautiful beaches, but they can't let people on the shores anymore because it's getting way too dangerous. Plastic can also negatively impact our health. According to the BBC in 2018, some compounds and chemicals found in plastics, such as BPA, have been found to alter hormones and have other human potential health effects. Some health effects could be cancer, birth defects, and impaired immunity. All of these are happening or will continue to happen unless we change something that's currently going on with our ocean trash circle. Now, changing your lifestyle can be a challenge, but you don't need to change your lifestyle in order to make a difference. Now, in a perfect world, we would just get rid of all plastic and all pollutants completely, but this is not realistically possible. We can't just depend on plastic one day and get rid of it the next. Even though we can't get rid of plastic fully, we can still try to recycle and use less plastic products. You can also take the time to cut loops on anything that might entangle marine life, such as six-pack strings and disposable masks, for instance. We're also trying to clean up beaches all over the world. It's important that everyone tries to do their part and clean up their community. You can also try to change your shopping habits if possible. If we were to buy more biodegradable things, we could reduce the amount of trash production substantially. Take soap, for instance. We use a lot of it, I would hope, but no one takes a second thought when throwing the bottle in the trash can, because, well, why would you? However, if we were to buy more biodegradable soap, it would not only be cheaper for you, but it would also be eco-friendly. There are also many other things that you can buy that are both cheap and good for the environment, so it's a win-win for both sides. If we do our part, hopefully we can reduce the amount of plastic that's currently in our ocean trash circle that pollute these oceans that we know and love. At this point, the best thing that we can do is recycle when you can, pick up trash if it's on the ground, don't litter yourself, and try to change your shopping habits if possible. So today, we talked about what the ocean trash circle actually is and why it's so destructive. Then we examined how this affects everyone and how it's happening. And finally, we dove down deep and found ways you yourself can help stop the problem from getting any bigger. These are some of the reasons why I think addressing the ocean trash circle will benefit our environment exponentially. We only peel back some of the layers of this problem, but this problem has a lot of layers to peel back. Some we might not even know about yet. But one thing's for sure, we need to try to do everything we possibly can to fix this so that way everybody can live in a healthier ecosystem.